Who was the most honored warrior in history?
David.
King, King David, you think? Well, look at our holiday of Hanukkah,
Mm.
where every single day we are praising
Ah, yeah,
Matisyahu three
yeah.
times a day, whenever we eat, the whole entire holiday, we are talking about the greatness of Matisyahu. And the question is, how do you get the significance that no other warrior in history got? We don't have a prayer recited three times a day for King David, not for Moshe Rabbeinu for vanquishing the Egyptians, not for Yeshua for bringing us into Israel. So, what's the unique quality of this warrior that deserves so much praise? Another thing that's striking in this prayer that we recite three times a day on Hanukkah, of the victory of the Jewish people over the Syrian Greeks, is that we say, "You have given the many in the hands of the few. You've given the mighty in the hands of the weak." That makes sense. You can understand the miracle there. Mighty are delivered in the hands of weak, and many are vanquished by few. That's a miracle. We can relate to that. We've seen in our own time in the Six-Day War, Israel against 21 other countries. It's winning the war in 6 days. It's an obvious out and out miracle. No question about it. But why does it continue? The prayer continues and says, "You've delivered the wicked in the hands of the righteous. You delivered the impure in the hands of the pure. You delivered those who act treacherously in the hands of those who study your Torah." What's the big deal? I mean, is there like an assumption that if you are righteous, you should lose? We find in the Torah that Abraham, he vanquished these four kings that were known to be the mightiest warriors of his time with their armies. Now Abraham wins the war. And we don't have this, we shouldn't, it seems, have this complex where because you're righteous, you're going to lose. Yet the prayer seems to echo that sentiment. Guess what? Attention came our choppers. The many were delivered in the hands of the few. And guess what else? The righteous vanquished the wicked. Why should the wicked win? What's the emphasis in the prayer? So another thing is that you could say about the Talmud says that Torah study weakens a person. So you could say the fact that I mentioned that the treacherous were delivered in the hands of those who learned your Torah, you could relate to that somewhat, perhaps, because Talmud says that studying Torah makes you weaker. So despite the fact that that Matisyahu and his army were Torah scholars, they still had the strength to vanquish those who acted treacherous. But what's the idea of the impure being delivered in the hands of the pure? The answer is this. This was a very unique war. This wasn't a war that was fought about survival. This was a war that was about values. The Greeks didn't want to destroy the Jewish people. They were perfectly fine with the Jewish people remaining. What they wanted was that everyone should join their culture, should join their way of life. They wanted to change Jerusalem to be called after their king Antiochus, they call it Antuchia. And they wanted everyone to just assimilate with them. And they were successful, largely. Thousands of Jews did join the Syrian Greeks. And so standing up against everyone, when the popular opinion, the media of the time, and everyone out there is all on the team of the Greeks, standing against them is really difficult. Think about drafting people to fight a war against the popular opinion of the time. It's really hard to picture this, but yes, today is not so hard. I mean, the popular opinion out there in the street, that's what's accepted as fact. There's a certain kind of herd mentality we see today as well. And Matisyahu was standing against the herd mentality. He was standing against the accepted norm. It was sort of a fight, a war against the truth. This is the truth, and you're fighting against the truth. we're very affected by the opinion of people around us. You go to a wedding and everyone around you is ordering salmon, you're not going to be the guy, everyone at the table orders salmon, you're not going to be the guy to ask for chicken because everyone around you asked for salmon. You go on television and there's experts just saying that this product is the best product. You're not going to disagree with that. Why should that be the best product? The experts are saying it's the best product. The whole market is built on the premise 1 billion Chinese cannot be wrong. This is what people are doing, and therefore this must be the correct thing. So, and the truth is that even till today, what the Greeks brought the world is really in our culture in a very major way. Think about a lot of words that the Greeks brought to our culture: chemistry, physics, mathematics. All these words are Greek words. They really till today affect Western civilization. And so Matisyahu and his children weren't just, and his small army weren't just fighting a war against a formidable foe that was analogous to us and our shul trying to take on the Los Angeles police station. Just the numbers were crazy. But besides that, this is a war against the truth. There was a fascinating study done by a man named Solomon Asch. He was studying this idea of herd mentality. What he did was he took a paper and he drew lines in the paper, and he asked people, what line on the paper is the longest? Now, before asking them, he also invited 5 other people to come to the room who had already been told what this experiment was about, and that everyone should choose one of the shorter lines as the longest line. So here comes Yankel. Yankel comes in the room, and 5 people are asked in front of Yankel, which line is the longest? And Shmerel and Beryl and Laser and Chaim and Gedalia all say line number B is the longest. Now, Yankel sees line number C is clearly longer than the other line. But you think Yankel's going to stand up and say, line number C? He doesn't want to be the odd man out. Doesn't want to be the guy who's saying the ridiculous thing. Of course not. He's going to say, more often than not, this was the study proved, he's going to say line B, even though he knows deep down that it's not line B. People would rather be wrong than be different. There was a study done about crime in New York. Contested study, but interesting point. About the crime in New York, Giuliani came to the scene, and Giuliani says, you know how to stop the crime in New York? We're going to stop the graffiti in the subways. We're going to stop the broken glasses, the broken windows in the slums in Harlem. The question is, that's not the worst crime. The worst crime isn't graffiti. There are a lot worse crimes. But the argument that he had was that we have to change the environment where crime is the norm. When you see graffiti out in the street, it sets a tone to the street. The street is a jungle, and you do whatever you want in the street. So that's why some argue that he was successful in bringing down the crime rate, because he changed the context of how people view the city. And this was the unique challenge that Matisyahu had, to be the one to fight against the truth. Truth is the street. The street is owned by Greeks. He is fighting a war against the truth. Very unpopular thing. There was a Jew named Rabbi Mordechai Rabbi Akiva Posner, who lived in a city called Kiel in Germany. And there's a picture that his wife drew, a photograph that she took in 1932, where the Germans enter, the German Nazi flag enters this city. He, the rabbi of the city, night before Hanukkah, night of Hanukkah. And she takes a picture with her menorah in her window. In the background, you see the Nazi flag. And she writes in the back of her photo, let's see the Google, it's unbelievable. She writes in the back of the photo, the flag says, Judah, the Jewish people, will die. The candles say, Judah will live forever. And we see today that Judah continues to burn, the candles continue to burn, and Judah continues to go on. This is the incredible miracle that we echo in our prayers every day. We're not talking about only the many being vanquished by the few and the mighty being vanquished by the weak. We're talking about fighting a war of popularity, about fighting a war of the real truth against the accepted truth. It's something that has a very strong message in regards to ourselves about the Egyptian Greek voices, or the voices of the evil inclination within us, that we consider those voices as credible, even though we know they're wrong. And we look at the world around us and we see that the people who are steadfast in the observance of Torah mitzvahs are the minority. And people who keep Shabbos are the minority. People keep kosher. The idea of the Jewish people standing up for what is truly valuable with their Torah, with their mitzvahs, that's the real miracle of Hanukkah. That's why Matisyahu was so lauded, not only because of the military victory, but because of the integrity that he had and his army had, to have the bravery to go against the accepted lie in the street, which was that we just have to join everybody else. This is something we see in this week's Torah portion that Yosef teaches us. Professor Velvel Green, Alav Shalom, was in the audience with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe shared with him a teaching about this week's Torah portion. Yosef Chassidic invites his brothers. They don't know yet this is Yosef, to have a meal with him. And he slaughters a sheep, and they have a great meal. The Torah emphasizes that Yosef and his internal cabinet ate separately. Yosef and his brothers ate together, but the Egyptians and the internal cabinet of Yosef, the viceroy of Egypt, ate in one place. They didn't eat with Yosef. The Rebbe asked, why wouldn't they eat with Yosef? And think about it, the best time to do business is lunch. That's your lunch, you discuss, you talk, you're open. It's a great time to have a meeting. And Yosef ate separately every day. Simple reason is he ate separately that day was because he was eating sheep, and the Egyptians worship sheep. The Rebbe said this was something that Yosef deliberately did every single day for 22 years. He did this because he wanted to remember who he was. He wanted to remember what he stood for. He wanted to have in his mind this absolute clarity. He is a child of Hashem, and he has a mission to do. And this is the message that the Torah tells us we need to take from this week's Torah portion and from the story of Hanukkah, that not to listen to the noise in our minds and our hearts, and not to listen to the noise in the street, and to, as Maimonides says, truth doesn't become more true because 1,000 people believe in it. Truth doesn't become less true because one person believes in it. Truth is truth, and the candles of Judah will live on forever. And we will see the coming Mashiach when the truth of Hashem is revealed in the world. This is the time when more and more the truth is becoming more and more evident, and people are gravitating towards the truth of Torah and mitzvahs, and we should see the coming Mashiach immediately.